Hello, hello, everyone. It's Marcia Grace, your modern meditation mentor, here today. And I am so excited because I have a special guest. I know I say that all the time, but she really is special to me because she is my very own wonderful coach. And so I am thrilled to have her here to talk to you and let you know a little bit about what she does. And she does it fantastically well, I have to tell you. So stay tuned for a second. But at first, I just want to say that I've mentioned this last week, that in the next week or two, you'll be getting an invitation to my Miracle Mastery Mind program. And so I want to make sure you know that and you're prepared for it, and you'll get further notice. But without further ado, I am going to introduce to you my mentor and coach, Miss Jannette Anderson, who I should use your middle name. Should I use your middle name? usually put that in, but who hails from the Great White North. And well, she'll tell you, I'm sure, but she is a world traveler. I mean, she lives a lifestyle that most of us would go, what? Like we would be pretty shocked. So please make sure you tell us about that. And she's an amazing gift to the world because her expertise is enormous when it comes to business and inspiration and helping dig out from you as a business owner what you have that's unique and special to you that you want to give to the world. And she helps you get that out of you, because we don't know how to do it ourselves. So, but she does. So anyway, okay, without further ado, I'm going to let Jannette tell you a little bit more about what she does, and then we'll get full flash into our discussion. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready. Awesome. Yeah, Marcia Grace nicknamed me the excavator because she said, all I do is dig, dig, dig. So now it's going to be my new title instead of the Why Whisperer. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm happy you made time and space for me, Marcia Grace. And by the way, you guys really check out that Mystery Mastery Mind, because
Miracle Mastery Mind.
That one.
Many M's going there, I think.
Exactly, because she has such incredible depth and wisdom and such a huge heart. So and years and decades of experience. So it's a real true blessing. So I highly recommend you check that out when she does finally release it soon. And so to tell you a little bit about me, just so that you know who I am and whether or not she bother listening. I've been doing business startup and turnaround for about 40 years, and personal development facilitation and teaching coaching certification programs for over 35. So I started when I was 2. Yes, that's not really, but so have been around and really helping entrepreneurs grow themselves and their businesses for a long, long time. And more recently, in the last decade, really focusing on supporting women in stepping into their purpose and their profit. And what Marcia Grace was referring to is I am what I call polyhomorous or multi-residential. I used to say homeless, but that would distress people. So now I just say that I'm polyhomorous or multi-residential. I live a laptop lifestyle again, finally, after COVID. And mostly that's because I'm pathologically allergic to winter and just got tired of my own whining about it. So I think my friends were tired of it long before I was, but I finally decided that I have an online business, so I can live and work anywhere. So I mostly do and tend to be somewhere warm for the winter. I'm still in Canada right now, in Calgary, Alberta, where I'm from. But I will be down in Florida soon, and then back here, and then down in Phoenix, and then in Mexico, and then California, and then back home. So I get around a lot. And what else you should know about me? Basically, my stand is that I want you to get that you matter and live like you do. And why that is because I've always wanted to matter. I always wanted to kind of get on the list, never mind be at the top of the list. I just wanted to get on the damn list. I grew up with lots of, drama and turmoil and challenge and so forth, and violence and addictions and pretty much everything you can name I grew up with. And a big part of that was getting independent really soon, really young, becoming the parent when I was 5, but really seeing how much my mom struggled with being able to do the basics. Like I at one point asked her for a book and she yelled at me, "No, we can't afford it." And I had heard that many times before, but the reason this really impacted me so much this time, I think I was about 5, was that I saw the shame and the anger and the frustration on her face when she said that. And I remember distinctly deciding, I don't remember much from my childhood, but I remember this moment, and I remember deciding I never wanted to see that look on anyone else's face again. And so ever since then, I have been kind of on an entrepreneurial path. I literally, because as little kids, we don't complicate things like we do as adults. So I decided no money for the book, go make money. So I had my very first business. I had a garage sale and sold all sorts of stuff that I shouldn't have because mom wasn't home. And I made $13.27, and I was immensely proud of my accomplishment. My mother, however, didn't quite see it that way when she got home from work that day, and all of her knickknacks and small appliances and things were missing from the house. She was less than impressed with my business. The short version of that story is I got spanked. She took my money. I lost most of my toys because I did sell my stuff too, and had to go back and buy back most of the stuff, and kids wouldn't sell me back my toys. And I didn't get the book, at least not right away. I did eventually get it, but so many people would say that was not a very good first venture, but I actually think it was very instructional. I learned some really important lessons at that point. One was, don't go into business with family. Kind of semi-kidding, but not really. And then the second one, though, was we really can take our destiny into our own hands with business, with entrepreneurship. That we can, if we have a problem, there's always a solution. We just have to be willing to work for it. And that we really can take our future and our destiny into our own hands. Doesn't mean everything always works, doesn't mean that we're always successful, but we do have more power and control than we think we do. So ever since that point, I have been really committed to supporting especially women in reclaiming their value, who they think of themselves as, earning and being valued in the world, so profiting themselves and others, and also really figuring out what is their purpose, what's the meaning behind their life and what they're doing, so that they can live into that. Because it's not just about money, but money's important, and it's not just about making a difference, although that's important too. It's about the both and, not the either or. So
well, you are answering all the questions that I was going to ask you before I had a chance to ask them. So
that's okay.
but I do appreciate that you work specifically with women. And I could, after you telling you that story, and is specifically, it's pretty clear to me, and I'm sure to anyone else listening, why that's so important to you to work with women to help them find their their mojo, what their specialty and their abilities and bring them out. So and I think it's a very heartwarming story, and what I love about it is that so many people will have a traumatic experience, and that had to be a traumatic experience for you, but they turn it around. And many people don't ever turn it around, but the very few that are able to do that are leaders and inspirational people like you. So so thank you for that. So I wanted to just ask you, since I talk about stress all the time, or releasing stress, and talk about stress, but we want to release our stress, and that's why I've been here for the last umpty years, every Friday, talking about some way of releasing stress. In your work with people, what do you see as the most common stressors for business people, business women in particular, these days? What kind of stressors are they talking about?
Yeah, awesome question. I know you work a lot with entrepreneurs too. I think that actually the stressors are things that we don't actually think about, because we think that it's money pressures, we think it's about technology, we think it's about all of these things outside of us. But actually, I think when we bring it closer to home, we put ourselves more in the driver's seat over our stress and over our worry and reactions. And so really where I see the stressors coming from are shoulds, the gap, and I'll explain that in a minute, and in a lack of meaning. So I'll explain all three. So the first is the shoulds and have tos. Many of us are driven by shoulds and have tos, and those weigh a lot, whether they're someone else's or our own. And by the way, in most cases, even if it's in your head, it does, and your voice, it doesn't mean it's your should or your have to. We've heard it along the way in many ways, many of the times when we're young, and have taken it on and incorporated it so much that we think it's our own voice, but it's actually not. It's someone else's voice. We didn't come into this world full of shoulds and have tos. And so those tend to really add a lot of stress, because it's trying to measure up to someone else's approval. And I think approval is one of the heaviest, most harmful, most devastating issues on the planet, and doesn't really get enough attention and causes a tremendous amount of stress. It's very much part of being human. Like, we want to belong to the tribe. To not belong to the tribe, it threatens our existence. So approval is so born into us, and especially as women, we're really trained to get along, to go along, to be the pleasers, to live for others, to, etc. And there's nothing wrong with being nice. There is all sorts of things wrong with giving away our power and sacrificing our own selves. So the shoulds and have tos are a push that I think creates a tremendous amount of stress. And so really the solution is, how do you switch that to a could or a get to? And even in the reframing of it, quite often it can make a difference to the weight of it. But really, we do have choice. And when we are a victim of our own shoulds and have tos, we're doing that to ourselves, because there is nothing that we actually have to do. We choose to. So
Then, I have to just say that, because I'm thinking Course in Miracles, it's on my mind a lot these days, being that I'm going to be teaching it. And when you say we have a choice, that is like, it's such a simple thing to say. You have a choice. Sure, I have a choice. Everybody has a choice. But the problem is that actually making the choice, because we want to rationalize so much about why we can't make that choice. We have to make this choice. And so I think that gets in the way from our happiness and our joy and our success.
Yeah, absolutely. And, many people will say, well, I don't have a choice. I have to pay my mortgage. Or, it's like, no, you don't actually have to. You could choose to sell your house. You could choose to go bankrupt. You could choose to go live on the street. You could choose to downsize. You could choose to do many, 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 many things. And you may not like some of those choices, and you may not like some of the consequences, but you do have a choice. And when we give up that power, then we get really stressed because we feel powerless. So really coming back to accountability, letting go of what I call false shoulds and have tos, and choosing those turning those into choose to or get to. Beyond reframing, it really does put us back in the power seat and in the driver's seat, reduces stress and elevates our ability to function. Because as soon as it's a choose to or a get to, our brain gets busy on how do we solve the problem. As soon as it's a have to or a should and we have no power, then we're all about the problem and we get blocked and stopped from solutions. Right. So that's stressor number one, is shoulds and have tos. So really being aware, whose should is it? Is it actually a have to, or is it a choose to? And in every case, it's a choose to in my mind. And then focusing on solution instead of the being pushed pushed by the problem. The second thing is what I call the gap. And the gap is the gap between, and it's similar, but it's the gap between where things are and expectations. Women are infamous for, people, but especially women are infamous for setting the bar always just ahead of where we are. And we reach it, and then we set the bar higher. So we never get to arrive. We never get to have that sense of satisfaction, accomplishment, completion, celebration, and enjoyment for having arrived and achieved whatever it is, because whenever we get close to it, we raise the bar again.
Well, I think that's part of society, isn't it? Isn't it really part of,
Well,
feeling on the inequality of women in the workforce, for example, right? You have to work twice as hard and be twice as good as the guy next to you in order to achieve anything. So it seems like there's never an end. You have to keep working harder and harder.
well, we keep getting told that, and we tell ourselves that. And the question is there an alternative? And how do we close the gap between what is and our expectations? Because the suffering lies in the gap. Suffering and stress and pain and sorrow and frustration and guilt all lie in the gap between what is and our expectations. So we have a couple of choices. We either get with what is, get present to what is, first of all, and lower our expectations, or do what it takes to raise the what is, or be willing to live with the gap. One of those three, those are the only three things that we can do.
Mhm.
And sitting there and bemoaning that, oh, I'm not this, I'm not there, I'm not this, I haven't achieved my degree, I haven't done this, I don't have enough money, I'm whatever the case may be, doesn't have us being present with, and what I call on the court, like actually in the game with, what is. And so if we're not there, we can't really do anything about it because we're not present to what is right now.
I think there's one, something came up that I must mention right away, but what I realize what a lot of people do, and I'm guilty of this myself all the time, it's a natural ego thing to do, is to blame other people. It's not my problem. I mean, I'm here because, that one did this and that one didn't do that and something else happened. And so that's why I have all these problems. So, yeah. So address that in context with what you were saying.
Yeah. Well, so it's there's a gap. We recognize the gap. We don't have what is. We're not with what is, and we're not low. We've got these expectations, and some of the explanation for why the gap can be, like you said, blaming others. It can be blaming ourselves. Oh, I'm not working hard enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not enough. That's where the not enough story comes in.
Right.
Blaming others or blaming ourselves doesn't do anything to bridge the gap at all. All it does is makes this place full of more suffering.
It makes it real, right? It just makes it real. You can't get out of it. You're in a loop.
It feels like it, yeah, for sure. So the reality is that one of the ways to bridge the gap or to narrow the gap is to get present with what is, because we often avoid it if we don't like it, like we don't look at our finances if we are, worried about them, or we don't attend to a relationship, we pretend like everything's okay and go la la la, etc. if there's issues. So getting present with what is, whatever that may be. And by the way, for some people, that's getting present to the pleasure and ease and joy they have in their life, because they are so self-identified with struggle or being a martyr or something like that, that they may have a great existence and they're not present to that either. It's not all about getting present.
Good point. Yes, that is so true. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So getting present with what is, then also really taking a look at whose expectations are these? So it kind of comes back to the approval thing I was talking about earlier. We have stress because we have these expectations. Is that our perfectionism talking? Do we have to measure up, and to whom and how come? Like really examining these expectations. Are they reasonable? Are they helpful? Do they take us closer to being who we want to be, or further away? My question for clients is never, is it good or bad, right or wrong? Because by whose standard, and that doesn't, it's not helpful. It's just judgment. Does it take you closer to who you want to be, or further away? Is what you're doing taking you closer to what you want, or further away? That's it. just ask that question. And if it makes sense, then adjust the expectations or get busy adjusting the reality. One of the two.
All right, so wait a minute. I have a question for my audience. How many of you have coaches who ask questions like that? You see what I mean about she's the digger, dig,
Yeah.
dig, dig.
True, it's true.
And it
Because
brings up, it might bring, you have to be pretty brave to do this actually, because, you know, you got to bring up the old junk, but you know what, when you have support, you can do that. And it feels great to do it. I can tell you that personally, you know, when we had a conversation a month or two or whenever it was back, and we were talking about something really intense, and as soon as you said whatever it was you said, which I, you know, is personal, but whatever it was, I felt like this huge weight just kind of fell off my shoulders. It just went whoop, and it, you know, I was like, I felt like I could breathe, you know, take a big deep breath again. So these are the kinds of things that we resist. And for many metaphysical reasons, you know, there are reasons why we do resist our own happiness. But once you realize that you're entitled to do that, and have that joy and peace and calm and all of that, wow. I mean, it changes your life. It's incredible. So
yeah.
thank you for being the kind of coach who embodies that aspect of working with clients, because that's the end result, and it's an amazing thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that. Yeah. And you
You're
really did.
welcome.
You really did shift that day. It was pretty phenomenal. And so then the third thing that I would say that really causes, especially entrepreneurs and women, a lot of stress is what I call a lack of meaning, but there's two parts to that. One is the meaning that we apply to life, right? The story we tell about the world and others in life. And then the being willing to see how meaningful we are in the world, that we really matter, that we make a difference, that we are meaningful to many people. And so both sides of that cause stress. If we don't get that we matter, if we've got the not enough story running, then it's like driving with the gas and the brake on, because we are constantly kind of struggling against our own not enough story. And having meaning in what we do is really important. So that's why I'm called the Why Whisperer, and I work with people on defining their why. Is another word for purpose, but I think purpose and mission are very laden terms, and often they feel kind of externally bestowed. Your why, I call your why what you're healing, the intersection of what you're healing from the past and what you long for your future, for yourself and others. What you're healing from the past and what you long for the future. That's your why. It's the thread that weaves throughout your entire life. And it changes in terms of how we express it. I call that your stand, your current expression of your why. But the why is consistent, why you do what you do in the world. And each of us has a different why. We have a different frame that we look at the world in. We have a different kind of problem we want to solve. We have a different lesson that we're here to learn, however you frame it. And I think really understanding your why makes it so much easier to get out of bed in the morning, makes it easier to make decisions about your business and your life, makes it easier to really position yourself in the marketplace, because people buy what you do, or why you do what you do, not what you do.
That's what I was just going to say, that because each of us has our own unique story and our own unique presentation of our why, we're going to attract people who are attracted to that particular energy. I mean, I talk about this all the time. We're energy beings. And so we attract to us those people who are in sync with our energy. And so there's no sense of competition. Competition does not exist, because people that come to this person are not going to come to me.
Exactly.
And it's not because I'm bad or they're better or who's somebody, whatever. It's none of that. It's simply because our energies don't match, or they do, whichever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And they
that's
resonate with your why and who you are being in the world.
right.
And so I
Exactly.
think a lot of people are missing that sense of meaning or don't have it articulated in a way that they can access. And so I think identifying our why we do what we do, and being able to articulate it and use it in our marketing and our positioning and for, you know, our planning and so forth is really important. That's part of why I weave it into my coaching, I weave it into my programs, I weave it into the workshop I have coming up. And
Yes. Yes.
it's
You have to talk
important.
about that.
Yeah, we will. So I think creating meaning and really being clear on the meaning helps lower the stress, because then where we're coming from is that kind of authentic, aligned place that says, this is who I'm here to be. And when we're clear on the being, then the doing and the having is so much easier. When we just do, then you know, it's all about do. It's all become shit, right? And we're all about having, then there's never enough, because you can never have enough, right? If it's all about having, you always have to have more to have enough. So really, how do we come back to the being, choosing who we want to be in the world, expressing that, living into it fully, enjoying it, exploring it, having fun with it? That's part of the creating the meaning. And I think that's a big part of what a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of women, a lot of people in the world are missing right now, is real
Indeed.
clarity on that and how to use that
Absolutely.
effectively.
Yeah, that's
So
so true.
yeah,
Yeah. So, you know, we could go on for, I mean, I
yeah,
I
but yes,
knew
this is
once I let the leash off, you were going to run and
yeah,
go
exactly.
and that is beautiful. I mean, it's fantastic. But I do try to keep it to about a half an hour. So I know you're doing this workshop. You want to tie that in with your focus for 2023, or do you want to talk about them
Yeah.
separately, or
So
you know,
absolutely. So I call 2023 2020 free,
free?
because and I have themes for the year. So 2022 was about 2020 together, was about coming back into collaboration and co-creation and really starting to reconnect again in more cohesive ways. 2020 free is about, what does freedom mean for you and how are you going to create it? Because we have gone through a period of constraint and restraint, and what does freedom really mean now? How do you live into that, express it? What do you really want? I think there's a lot of people right now redefining themselves, their lives, what's
Sure.
meaningful, their work, etc. Which is great, because it means that we're being more conscious than we have been for a long
But
time.
it's scary. It can be a little bit terrifying, you know, and that's where the support is so important. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have an event coming up. So I'm going to tell you two ways to reach me, because one is an event that's coming up soon, and I'm not doing it again until May and then the fall. So if you hear this after that event, I'll tell you a way that you can tap into some
Good.
support.
And
Otherwise,
we'll have the links in the remarks below and in the
okay.
Facebook
So the
remarks.
first one is my upcoming event called the Purpose and Profit Breakthrough. The Purpose and Profit, by the way, I don't know if you can hear the noise in the background, but they're doing construction where I am right now. So sorry
I don't
about
hear
that.
it. I don't hear
Okay.
it.
So the Purpose and Profit Breakthrough is a 3 half-day event. It's January 17th to the 19th, Tuesday to Thursday. And it is just 4 hours a day, because I don't want people to have numb brain and numb bum. And it's virtual on Zoom. It's day one is about your why, articulating, clarifying your why you do what you do. How do you use it in your marketing and your positioning? How do you use it to get you out of bed in the morning? How do you really understand what it is that is significant to you, which will, by the way, help reduce stress? And then day two is about what stage are you at in your business? Because a lot of people are struggling, including what I call my smart, savvy spinners. So women who've been in business for a while, who are smart, who are experts at what they do, but aren't getting the momentum that it's
Excuse me.
because they're doing, in most cases, it's because they're doing the right thing at the wrong time or the wrong thing for them.
Mm.
So they've been sold solutions by the gurus on the top of the mountains that work on the top of the mountain when you have big lists and infrastructure and support, but they're selling them to people who are coming up the mountain and who don't have that. And then when they fail to implement these leveraging solutions, they feel bad and feel like it's their fault. It's not, it's just the wrong thing at the wrong time or at the wrong stage of business. So I talk about what should you be doing at that stage figure out what stage you're at and what should you be doing at that stage and what shouldn't you be doing. So it saves a ton of time and money and energy. And then day 3 is about how do you put that into practice for you? What works for your style? Because there are no cookie cutter solutions, and anybody who tries to tell you that one size fits all is lying. So how do you implement that for you so that you can get more of your ideal clients this year, so that you can start to build some momentum, get out of being stuck or stalled, and really start to see your why making a difference in the world. So it's about impact and income. So it's super affordably priced. If you go right away, it's $47 to the end of the day today, which is why Marsha Grace generously offered to have me come speak today. So if you go to Bodacity, that's BODACITY.ca/purpose and profit. So purpose and profit all spelled out. I'm a stand for the and, not either or. It's got to be both and. So that's one way. The second way is I'm going to offer, if you missed that event, which I hope you don't, but if you missed that event, it is coming up. You can join my Facebook group, the Purpose and Profit Sisterhood. Would love to have you in our community. You'll find out about other things that are coming up, lots of resources and support. Purpose and Profit Sisterhood on Facebook. And then the third thing that you can do is book a clarity session with me. So this is still complimentary. I'm actually shifting it to paid, but for now it's complimentary. What's next clarity call. And what we do is figure out where you're at and what's the next logical step for you that will actually help you start to get some more momentum and move forward powerfully. Because sometimes one of the biggest questions is, what should I be focusing on? There's so many options. What should I just be focusing on? So I get rid of some of the overwhelm and the too muchness and help you just figure out what's the thing that'll actually get you moving and get you results. So the clarity call, we'll put the link for that in the, it's a link to book with me on my calendar. We'll put the link for that below this. And I would love to connect with you and find out what you're up to, what you're excited about, and what you're going to do to create your freedom in 2023.
That sounds great. Yeah, take advantage, folks, really. It's crazy not to spend a few minutes with Jannette, because you will not regret it. That I can assure you. In fact, you will be thrilled that you made the effort, because she will clarify things so quickly for you that it's amazing. So yeah, please do take advantage.
Thank you for your stand in the world. And like you were saying earlier, some people are our people and some people are not. And those of you who are looking for a ton of wisdom, heart, and expertise wrapped up in a kind of unassuming but delightful package, then this is your woman, or this, depending on which side of the screen she's on from me. That person is your woman.
Oh, it's funny, on my screen, I'm looking at you you're on my left and you're on my right. I don't know how that happened, but I've got two of you here.
Oh, that's very interesting. There you go. It's just being very bodacious and all over the place. So thank you so much for having me, and come for a moment. And I would love to meet your people in person. So please do come to the event, or book a call with me, or join the Facebook group, or all three. I would love, love, love to meet you and support you on your journey. And thank you, Marsha Grace, for your, as you said earlier, it takes courage. It takes what I call grabbing your ovaries and going for it. To be the kind of person who's willing to step into leadership like you have so consistently, and to keep going no matter what age, stage, no matter what, to just keep going and say, I care enough about people to keep doing the work, even though I'd rather be off gardening most days, even though I'd rather be off playing with my chickens,
I keep arguing. I say, come on, just leave me alone. I just want to have fun, but I am, but it's true. I once you know your why, and this is one of the unique and wonderful things about what Jannette does. Once you know your why, you can't shake it off. I mean, you just can't. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing, because we have gifts to share with the world, and they need us.
That's right.
Need every single one of us, every single one of you who has a business, who has or is working hard to create something. that's especially from you, from your own heart and mind and spirit, you got to share it. You've got to. So I hate to be a stickler about these things, but that's just the way it is, the way I see it. So I want to thank you, Ms. Jannette Anderson, for being here and sharing your wisdom with us. I think that there was just so much. People have to listen to this 2 and 3 times to get everything out of what you said today. But thank you, thank you, thank you.